It is 8:47 and time for another edition and another episode of Survive and Thrive with CH Insurance and our pal Joe Convertino Jr. Joe, how are you this morning?
Morning, Gomez and Lisa. September already. I don't know where time's gone.
Zipping right along, and a very special guest joining us here this morning. Joe, why don't you introduce him?
Yes, I think really probably needs no introduction. Friend of the community, Jim Burns, president of J.W. Burns and Company here in Syracuse. We thought, Jim, welcome. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Joe.
So, Jim, obviously with this pandemic, the theme of the show is survive and thrive. We've had all types of industries on, and we're so excited to have you on the financial piece. Obviously, when it first hit, people weren't thinking stocks, their values. Now, as this thing progresses, what was the mindset of the financial market out there with individuals like yourself as we move through the summer and things have gotten better?
Well, I would first tell you that the 23 days in late February to late March, 23 trading days, was the scariest time and the most seriously frightening time in my 33 years, including the stock market crash in 1987. The predictions of a depression were rampant, 30% unemployment and the like. The comeback in the market has been absolutely breathtaking, beyond anything I would expect. But the one thing I think we can take from this is the folly of trying to time the direction of the market, no matter how you see the future. And markets do what you least expect when you least expect it. So if you're going to be in stocks, in your 401k or any area, in my view, you have to commit to being in stocks through thick and thin, because the Wall Street Journal wrote an article very clearly that said so many investors sold out of stocks right near the bottom. And if you think about it, a 37% decline in the Dow Jones Industrial Average in those 23 days. I mean, it was unbelievable, breathtaking as well, the down and the up. People just thought they understood what the future would be and it was going to be bad, and they sold. This recovery has been a 50% plus recovery. And, it just shows you cannot time the market no matter how much you think you know what's going to happen.
Hey, we're talking to Joe Convertino Jr. and James Burns from J.W. Burns and Company Investment Counsel. It's CH Insurance, and our Survive and Thrive will continue on Zoom, and you'll be able to watch and listen to this entire video later on today when we post it on our Facebook page at TK Classic Rock.
Good.
And that's all it takes.
And now we continue on Zoom.
All right, very good.
There you go.
So aside from that, Jim, the mistake of selling off early and at a low point, what are common mistakes that the average person makes when it comes to their investments like that?
Well, when it's natural for investors to buy at the top and sell at the bottom. That's just what a lot of investors do. I mean, they believe that the markets are telling them something about the future, but the markets are there, as the old Warren Buffett would say, they're there to serve you, not instruct you. So the first thing investors can do is max out their 401ks and continue to consistently add to their mutual funds or stocks or what they are doing, and not try to, again, time when's a good time to buy or not. Over the long term, and long term meaning 10, 20, 30 years, where you buy isn't as important as that you stay with it through thick and thin. And so constantly, or consistently is a better word, adding to your investments will ensure you're not buying at the top, and being committed to the process will ensure that you don't sell at the bottom when you're frightened. Stocks go down a lot faster than they go up. And therefore that scares a lot of investors. And the four most dangerous words in investing are, it's different this time. It is not different. Markets go up and markets go down. And we just had a great August as an example. It was the best August in the markets since 1984, I think it is, in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And everyone's going to be getting their statements, or perhaps they look online or however they do it, and they're going to see their portfolios with a real nice pop. People don't know. Markets are up, I don't know, 7. The Dow is up about 3% after that huge drop. And I think the S&P 500 is up around 9 or somewhere in that range. It's remarkable, that markets would be doing this in the case of COVID. But you've got to commit. I can't emphasize enough. It's about commitment to the long term. The greatest single edge any investor can have is a long-term orientation. And but most people don't. And that's the big mistake. That's the big mistake.
People are often told to diversify. Yes, I'm staying with stocks. Look, I'm with you. When I saw it all just drop in the winter when COVID just hit, I went all in because buy low. I'm like, and I'm not a big investor. I mean, my $100 a month went really far for me. Let's just be clear. But you always hear to diversify. What's your take on diversification as an investment strategy?
Most people should have appropriate diversification. It depends on each individual and their risk tolerance and their age. I do believe in diversification, but I don't believe in what's called diversification, where you own too much. What you described is the right way to do it, Lisa. $100 or whatever it is consistently keep adding to your investments. When you buy mutual funds or stocks, you are buying stocks when you buy mutual funds. It's just mutual put together. The best thing to remember is that in the long run, you're betting on American business. And therefore, you are owning businesses. And over time, American business has succeeded. And it continues to succeed. I mean, I just look at the results. I can look at a basic value line on a company like McDonald's or Pepsi, which are part of any funds you're buying, by the way. And their earnings power keeps going up, not year after year, but over the long term. So you were a rarity of people that bought in that environment. And I commend you on that, assuming it's true.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Jim? I made a mistake in like 2007, 8, 9, because what I was doing, I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting killed out here. And I sold something because I needed the cash. So I sold it, I took a hit, I paid the penalty, and I learned from that mistake. I will never do that again.
Right.
That is a wonderful story.
So I cleared out a whole, I had like a little, you buy a mutual fund here and a mutual fund here. And one of them just wasn't doing so good. And I'll tell you right now, I can remember the stocks that were in it in 2008. I wish I still had it. Yeah. I could kick myself for that.
Yeah.
That's a winning story and a good one. Learn. People who look at investments and regret the past is not effective. The successful mindset to be a good investor and to build your wealth and prepare your retirement is not to regret what you've done, but to learn from it. And that's that's what you did. And that's, again, not common, is to learn, not regret.
Right. Jim, as we go towards year end, obviously for our viewers that are employed and have 401k plans, now's the time to ask their employers, probably as we move into the new year, 401k plans have investment surveys on which way you can go. Lisa was smart enough to diverse. A lot of people don't understand, but what would you recommend for the employees to do? I mean, talk to their employer to see if there's surveys, talk to their investment person, because now's the time.
Yeah, they should always, be checking with their investment person. Remember, we work a lot of our life. And, make as much as you can, as the saying goes. That's out of many people's control, but save as much as you can. Check with your employer. Make sure from your own perspective that you're maxing out the investments you can make into a 401k or whatever it is that you have, 403b or whatever you can do. Max out your IRA. Check with your accountant or look it up on what you can do based on your income. But the idea is save as much as you can and invest for growth, appropriately diversified, and prepare yourself psychologically that you're going to have drops of 30 and 40%. And if you can do what Lisa did, which is to buy, or the bottom line is you should keep buying if you're doing it on a monthly basis, and don't look at your statements because it is nothing more than a snapshot in time. I don't get excited when I look at my portfolio or look at my value at the end of August, the best August since 1984, and see, significant gains. And I don't get that depressed when markets go down. I try not to look. I look at it because that's my job. But the idea is I don't get really happy and I don't get really sad. I'm in it for the long term because the evidence, stocks are the best wealth creating vehicle known to man, and investors should be there. That doesn't mean 100% depending on your age, but you should, with interest rates now at zero, you should probably always have, or should have now, especially, a tilt towards growth, because you're probably going to need more money than you think in retirement.
Hey, Jim, speaking of retirement, what do you tell people if you have somebody who comes in to talk to you and they're in their late 40s, 50s, whatever, and they've done the math and realize they haven't saved nearly enough, or maybe in some cases haven't saved any? Yeah. Are there things that someone like that can do with the next 15 years maybe of their working career that's going to help them out?
Yeah, Glenn, it's a good question because you do see that, unfortunately, or something like that. The best thing, there is no free lunch. They don't drop $100 bills out of the sky if you haven't been following some basic rules of paying yourself first, as the old saying goes. Even a small amount of money is that commitment to being prepared for retirement. Even if you're in your 30s, 40s, a small amount of money. Now, if you're behind, you're going to have to cut your spending. You're going to have to probably plan on working longer or a part-time job in retirement. But in the meantime, you've got to get back to the basics. Save as much as you can. Cut your spending because you're going to need to do that. And plan on keep working because that's simply what you're going to have to do. People do it. The Wall Street Journal had an article recently where this is not that uncommon. And you can catch up in your late 40s, even into your mid 50s. There's never a bad time to save money and invest it for the long term. And I would say that somebody who's in that situation probably also has to invest a little more for growth and probably take on a little more risk to catch up.
Jim, let's switch gears a little bit. How'd you get in the business? I know you're a local kid out of CBA. Why don't you give us a little overview of yourself? How you got in the business, and what do you like to do when you're not watching the market?
Well, just quickly, I did grow up in Syracuse. I went to CBA High School, Christian Brothers Academy. I was president of my class. I'm always proud of that because it was very competitive. And then I went to St. John Fisher College in Rochester, and I got a degree in communications, journalism, and political science. Believe me, in my business, being able to write has been a significant boon because I'm able to communicate with clients in a way that's unique and probably different than what most money managers and investment firms do. So I got in the business because my father owned it. And so it's a family business. And I joined on March 15th, 1987. I'll just share this about stocks being the best wealth creating vehicle. Do any of you want to take a guess, 33 years ago in March, what the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at? We know now it's at 28,000. What do you think it was at 33 years ago?
Well, I remember it was a big deal when it cracked 10,000.
Yeah.
And that was like in the early 2000s, even early. I gotta say it was probably, I don't know, 7,000 or 8,000. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I would guess, 7,000, 8,000.
You want to take a guess, Joe?
I was going to say 7,800.
Okay. It was at 2,300.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Check this out, share the story. It proceeded to go up to 2,700 in August of 1987. And then it crashed in October to 1,700. And today it is at 28,000, not including a 3% approximately dividend over that time that the Dow offers. Wow. And through that, I've had to live through so many different challenges and predictions of depression, including 1987. I mean, the predictions were rampant that Reagan was like Hoover. I'm not making a political statement that, you know, the core October of 1929 and October of 1987. I mean, it was a frightening time. 2001, the 2008, 2009 financial crisis. You know, you can go on, so many others I'm not even mentioning, where there were predictions of, you know, massive declines. Again, it's a committing to living through thick and thin and not panicking and not getting artificially high or happy when you look at your statement, like you will probably look at it this August for those that stayed the course and say, wow, look how much I'm worth. It's a snapshot in time. In 3 weeks, it could be down another 8%. You know, you're betting on American business to succeed. And I believe that it will. And that's why I continue to strongly recommend high quality, growth oriented equities.
So Jim, even you hear people say, it's an election year. It's an election year. If so-and-so gets in, the market does this. If so-and-so gets in, I mean, those are myths, but boy, you hear that out there.
Joe, that's a great point. I heard it yesterday, and I tell you this is true. This is from a client with an extraordinarily high net worth by almost any standard. And he, in effect, was saying, I want to wait till after the election because I think so-and-so is going to win. And markets will go down. And I said, you cannot allow Washington in any way, shape, or form to dictate your investments. And I would use this example when President Obama was elected. Again, non-political statement. I heard from people who are more conservative, taxes are going up, he's a socialist, and we're going to see markets go down. Obama years were tremendously prosperous years investment-wise. When Donald Trump was elected, I tell you true, I remember in February 2017, right after he had an inauguration, I had a few clients call and say, I want out totally. I don't trust this guy, I want out. These have been tremendous years to be invested in stocks. Remember this when it comes to politics. In the last last 12 years, there has been in effect 2 pieces of legislation, major legislation, only 2, Obamacare or the ACA plan and the tax cut. That's it. We are set up not to allow major policy changes. And the B is if the Senate, people are like, the Senate goes this way, the presidency goes this way, the House stays Democrat, and in this case, the prediction anyway, you know, taxes are going to skyrocket. It's going to be close all the way around, including the Senate. And many of these are going to be what's known as blue dog Democrats that are not going to go for any big tax increase because they understand that their constituents in their state aren't for it. And they're not going to go for that. So it's really overplayed. Don't let Washington dictate your policy, and certainly not the election. I could go on and on with this, but I've said
that. But great piece of advice. Great piece of advice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Anything else, Gomez?
No, it's that was great.
I want to
Jim,
hang out
appreciate
with
it.
Jim like every day. Jim, I'm suddenly a fan. I want to have lunch and hang out. I'll buy the first round just to listen to you talk.
Hey, I'm 100% game. Anytime I go to Core Eatery right here. I'm in DeWitt, and we've got a number of good Panera. So I go among those 3. I have it brought in every day because I stick to my craft. I'm not a long lunch eater, but for you guys, I will be a long lunch eat.
All right. Good deal.
Will you buy?
Excuse me, Joe?
You'll buy, right?
Oh.
Joe, you're buying
Unless you're there.
Convertino.
If you're there, I'm putting it on you. You got the.
All right, one more point for Jim. I mean, if you guys don't know, tell us about your community involvement. I know you do a lot. I could be at an event, you have a table. Tell us what got you into that. Was it your dad? Was it your business? Was it your heart? I mean, I know you do a lot of wonderful things for Central New York.
Well, it's probably a combination of all 3, to be honest. You know, there's an old saying, he who continually gives continually has. And I don't view my giving as just giving up money. I know it comes back in just a special way, in ways that I can't even tell. What you put out is what you get back. Certainly from a business perspective, it's been helpful, and I'm aware of that. I'm from Syracuse, so I know a lot of people, and they, come to me and ask, and I'm a friendly guy, and it's helped me networking, and I think my reputation speaks for itself. So that's been very helpful. And I do want Syracuse to prosper. It's been very good to me. We've got in just discretionary assets, which means as a fiduciary, we can invest it any way we want. We've got over 650 million in assets under management. We have, which I think is significant for Syracuse, and we have a lot of non-discretionary accounts that have been there. So we've got just I'm just very blessed, and I've been blessed. The old saying from somebody on Wall Street who was very generous, he said, the more I give, the more I seem to make.
That's awesome.
Great philosophy. Thank you. Hey, Jim, again, it's James Burns from the J.W. Burns and Company Investment Council. This week's guest here on Survive and Thrive, and, of course, with Joe Convertino from CH Insurance.